So how do you rescue a trade when the price goes through you?
Simon Jones on Twitter asks, any chance of you doing a video on how to rescue a trade when a price goes through you?
Okay, so it's quite a common themed type question, not the exact question, but it's quite a common theme that I've had in emails before, so be a good one to answer for the Q&A. So how do we rescue a trade when the price goes through us? Now I think a lot of people just looking at this wrong, to be honest. They're coming at this from the wrong angle altogether. I don't know, it reminds me of like playing computer games as a kid, you know, where you could go up, down, left, right, hold A and B together as a cheat and you'd get an extra life. It doesn't work in trading, that's not something that happens. There is no magic money button, it isn't actually possible to do that. So in terms of rescuing the trade, like there is no special move that's going to leave you rescuing that trade. The two main things really are to react quickly. And you know, make a decision quite fast, which you need to be fairly confident in what you're doing to do that. And secondly, you need to prevent the situation actually happening, you know, and anticipate what could be happening in the situation, why it's happening, to avoid ending up in that mess in the first place. Prevention is better than cure is what I'm trying to say. So preventing the situation is often a lot easier. So if you're expecting a certain set of circumstances to unfold within any market and you don't see them happening, it's simple, you don't act. You know, you've not lost out, you might have missed maybe a bit of an opportunity, or you know, you might miss something elsewhere, but you haven't actually lost any money. So it's really important to anticipate what's going on based on the knowledge that you have about the market and you know what your edge is and all that kind of stuff. And then if it's not happening, just don't do nothing. Don't get yourself in that situation. What I'm saying is you don't want to be entering in to like a maybe trade, like a trade that's like, oh, this could be possible, because you're gambling. You're not actually trading. You're not actually following a specific set of rules where you're like, if this happens, I understand why that's happening and that price is going to carry on drifting. What I'm expecting to happen, I'm seeing in front of me. The moment you don't see that happening, or the moment that changes, when you want to be thinking about closing out a trade, if the trade's already open, or not even entering it at all in the first place. So prevention is better than cure. And the second part, which like I said, you have to be a little bit more confident in what you're doing, is reacting quite quickly to the decision and the situation in hand. Not doing that at all, obviously you're gambling. It's a very common one for people that come into trading because, and the reason is because they've not got as much knowledge on the situation, they don't really know what's happening. But it's quite common to get caught, you know, rabbit in the headlights, you're staring at a loss and it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. You don't want to be doing that. So as soon as it's not conforming to what you're expecting, close that out, get out quick. You know, it's just a loss, it's just an expense, it's part of it. Let's fail quickly, and then when it does go our way, we'll let it run and actually make more profit. So decision making is really paramount, to be honest, is what I'm trying to say. But you know, the whole thing sort of comes from the confidence, the situation, understanding what's going on and what you're trying to achieve. The only thing that I can say that you could do to possibly limit a bit of a loss, which doesn't apply to every market, is how to explain it? To make a really simple example, if you've got two horses in one race and you're expecting the favourite to drift for whatever reason, and the price goes through you and the price starts to come in, and there's obviously support for that in the market, and you can see that maybe, you know, that's because it's a two-horse race, then it's going to have a knock-on effect and push the second out. So what you can do in that instance is open up a lay position on the second favourite before you close out your loss on the favourite. Now, closing out your loss on the favourite is probably to push the price against you a little bit more as it goes, but in doing that, it will actually push, you know, it'll actually be assisting the move that you just opened up with a lay position on the second favourite. Now, it's not exactly desirable, it's not going to make you a load of money, it's not going to stop you from losing, but what it could do is allow you, putting yourself in the right situation, learning from that loss on the favourite, and actually gaining a little bit on the second, and you've got the option to let that trade run. If it makes a little bit more, closing out some of your loss, or if it doesn't, then you need to cut it short again, because you don't want it bouncing back on you and ending up in a double loss. But that's the only thing that you could possibly do in some situations, particularly when you can see there's two horses directly linked, depending on what the situation is. common ones. If there's like, you know, if they've got the same trainer and there's 2 horses in one race, and obviously a lot of the time they'll actually do the opposite, because, you know, if the trainer's mind's all on one and there's a gamble coming from inside connections on one, then, you know, it makes sense what's going to happen on the other, because trainer's not really going to compete against himself hard in a particular race, especially when there's inside, well, I say inside, but there's people gambling on that, which are usually linked to inside connections.